Hey everybody, it's Mike DiLisio. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hey Yo, a cooperative rhythm game from designer Takashi Saito and publisher Oink Games. This, as I said, is a rhythm-based game where you are playing cards to a table, trying to score the most points, all in rhythm. So let's head over to the table. I'll show you briefly how the game plays, then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, here we see just about all of the components that you find in Hey Yo. This is a small box Oink game, and as such is not going to have a whole lot of components. This is for the standard cooperative version of the game that has 2 to 5 players. If you were going to be playing a team game that can play from 4 to 10 players, you'd have a second deck of cards here, another one of these, another each of these 2 tokens, which are the start player token and the leader token actually, and the start marker where you're going to be starting to play the cards, and you have these 4 bonus tokens. And what you would do to set up is you would take these 4 bonus tokens, they would get shuffled face down. You're going to have 2 of them that are going to be the 2 bonus tokens you're working for that round. In this case, it would be Hey Ah. Now, I've taken the deck and I've split it. If we were playing as a 4-player game, each player would get their deck, and then you would be ready to begin the game. And it is a relatively simple game. As I mentioned earlier, it is cooperative. It is a rhythm-based game with some timing and a little bit of a, I don't know if you'd call it a speed element, but I guess you could. Generally speaking, what's going to happen is you're going to start playing a line of cards, and if they get to the end of the table, you just wrap around to the next one. And what you're trying to do is score points, but you have to play these cards on rhythm. And this little rhythm machine is going to be the one driving all the action, because when you're ready to start the game, the leader who holds this token is going to say, "Come on, DJ," and then press the button here. And what's going to happen is you're going to hear a little whistle, and on the whistle, that's when you play your cards. But for the very beginning, you wait for the second whistle. It gives you a little bit of time. So how you do it is that everyone has their own deck, and you're going to draw 4 cards from your deck. You always want to have 4 cards in hand. Okay, and these cards are double-sided in the sense that they've got either ah, hey, yo, or yeah, and it's on 2 sides. So you can play the card in either orientation. You can either play it like this, or you can play it like this. Okay, what you're trying to do is score points by connecting these different kind of, I don't know if you call them symbols or little words, and end them with these symbols, okay? And so when you're ready, you would say, "Come on, DJ," and you start it up. There's the whistle. And you play it on that. Then the next, you draw back up. The next person would then play their card. You draw back up. Now you could play it in such a way that you skip a line that's not breaking the... There, now let me stop it. So, if I'd done something like this, the way the scoring works is you start at these symbols and then you go left towards the start line, okay? Each of these are worth 1 point, and then everything that's unbroken to the left is another point. So this example would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that does not count as a break. You have a line there. It would be a break if I had done something like this. If this was the case, you'd only get 1 point. Those wouldn't score because the yos are getting in the way. All right? And you would continue to play cards this way until you have played all the cards, and then you're going to do scoring. So I'm going to cut away for a moment. I'm going to set up an example of how it might look at the end of a game with all the cards out there, and then I'll explain the scoring to you. Okay, so let's say, for example, at the end of the first round, this is how the cards had all been played out. What you're going to do for scoring is you're going to start at the end of the line of music here, and there's 2 lines that you're going to be scoring. Each one of these count as 1 point, and every uninterrupted symbol of the same type that is to the left of it gives you another point. So starting at the bottom here, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nothing here. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's the bottom line is 30 points. Only 1 point here. So 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. Now, that would be 52 points. What you're trying to do is reach a scoring threshold of 50 points. And you do that on this, you get a sheet of scoring pad here. And let's see, for example, this was one that I had played with Chris and Roy a bit earlier. You count up all of the different symbols and you're trying to reach 50 points to clear that level. If, like in this case, you got 50 points, what you're going to do is you're going to try to go to the next round. You're going to go to level 2, and you do that by taking out the 4 cards from that level. So here's a level 1 card, that gets removed, that gets removed, that gets removed, and that gets removed. And you can see all of these level 1 cards are really good because they have double symbols on one side and a blank on the bottom, which make them, valuable and easier to play. Now, you're going to try to do the exact same thing with those 4 cards out. It makes it more difficult. You're trying to get to 50 again. If you can do that, you do it and remove the level 2 cards. And you try to hit 50 again. And you try to, if you do that, you remove the level 3 cards to get to level 4. I missed that level 2 card. And if you can do that, you are a rhythm master and the king or queen of Hey Yo. Let's head back over and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea on how Hey Yo plays. This is a very, very silly game that is kind of leaning into that silliness. So, first thing I want to do is talk about the art and components for the game. First of all, this is I would call it a minimalistic art style. It's very minimal. There's not really any art to speak of on the actual cards themselves. It's really just those words, hey, yo, yeah, those types of things. But it's very bright and vibrant, and it's easy to recognize on the table, which is what's really most important. Usability is key here. If there was a lot of art on the cards, I think that you then may not be able to focus on what you need to because this is timed. And so it would be, I think, a little bit frustrating if I couldn't clearly see what was on the table at any given time. So while it's very minimalistic, I think for this game, it works particularly well because there's never a situation where I am confused by what I'm looking at, what's been just played on the table. There is an odd card size, as I'm sure you noticed in the overview. And so as such, if you are a card sleever, I think you're probably going to be out of luck. I don't know that they make card sleeves for that size. If they do, I haven't seen them. I don't think it's a standard card size by any means. So if that bothers you, it's something to keep in mind. For me personally, I don't have a problem with it at all. The card quality is just fine. There is some shuffling that goes on, and so I suppose if you were maybe rough with shuffling or weren't paying a whole lot of attention and kind of crammed the cards together, it could cause an issue, but I played the game many, many times and the cards still look pretty much pristine. So an odd card size, but I don't think it's a problem for me. The cardboard bits are good, the little tokens, the bonus tokens, the starting token, the leader token. Thick cardboard, there's not a lot of them, but what's there is perfectly functional, very well done. Now, the centerpiece component, I suppose you would say, is that little rhythm machine, that little rhythm maker. And it's adorable. It's this tiny little button press to get that music. It works really well. The beat that is produced by that machine is catchy, and it is very clear where you should be playing the cards. It adds a nice bit of tension knowing that that whistle is coming up and you've got to play on the whistle. I actually did not mention in the overview, but if you either play a card too early or a card too late, not on the whistle, then there's a penalty. What happens is the card that's closest to the beginning gets flipped face down, and now that doesn't score. You would keep flipping them down. Those are more and more cards that wouldn't score. So there is a penalty involved if you don't play the cards in rhythm. I feel like the pace of that rhythm, of that beat, is just right. Although I suppose if you really wanted to kind of adjust the difficulty, you could just find random kind of beats online that have a higher or lower BPM, beats per minute, to make the game either more difficult or more challenging. But to me, it feels just right as it is. So I have no issues at all with that machine. Actually, it's a great component. I'm happy with it. All right, so for the overall experience in Hey Yo, I mentioned it before. This is a game that leans into the silliness. This, in my eyes, is a party game, a cooperative party game. Now, you can play with teams where you have two teams that are both trying to do the same thing and you try to find out who's got the better score. But to me, this is just a very silly, very fun party game with a timing and rhythm component. Honestly, I don't usually love games where there's a bit of like a speed element, where there's tension that is derived by how quickly you have to play a card. I feel like oftentimes it can be lazy design. It's kind of a shortcut to induce tension into a game. I don't feel like that's the case in Hey Yo at all, because that really is what the game is all about. The game is all about rhythm and timing, and I don't think you ever feel frantic. There are times you are going to mess up and want to play a card and you're just off and you have to take a little penalty, but it's never really anything that's devastating. I don't think that it creates the kind of negative tension that sometimes rhythm-based or speed-based games can induce. I feel like here it's all fun, it's silly. Even if you mess up, it's probably not the end of the world, and it's such a fast game that even if you don't score that 50, you can just play again. That was going to be my next point. This is a perfect length for a party game. If you can somehow get through all 4 stages, which I've never been able to do, then it's maybe a little bit longer, but even then you're probably talking 20 minutes max. Usually what's going to happen, if it's anything like me and the groups I've played it in, is you'll get through 2, maybe 3 stages, 15 minutes or so, and then quite honestly what usually ends up happening is we want to run it again and play again, because it's just, it's short, it's snappy, it's fun, it's silly. It definitely has that let's play it again type of a situation. It would be a great, I think, convention game, other than it'd have to be in a somewhat quieter room. There's a great player count for this. It plays 2 to 10. 2 to 5 is the standard co-op game. 4 to 10 would be the team game. So it's nice to have a small box, short party game that plays a nice wide range like that. Now, a couple of the negatives is that the replay value for this is probably not the highest. I've played it a number of times. I feel like I've already gotten my money's worth out of it, but it's not something that maybe you're going to want to play again and again and again and again. You're probably going to want to play it a couple of times in a game night. You may not want to play it the next game night, depending on when that is, but for every so often, I think it does its job just fine, but it's probably not something you're going to be pulling off the shelf over and over and over again. This game includes some limited communication, and I generally don't love that in games, in cooperative games, where you can give some information to your to the other players, but not everything. In this game, it's not a huge issue because it's pretty clear what you can and can't say. You can't say, I've got 2 cards that have double yos on them. That would be giving too much information. But what you could do is say something like, look, I'm really good with yos right now, so if we can kind of start that off, that would be good. Once the game gets going, you really don't have a lot of time for communication anyway. So the limited communication that does exist is almost always at the beginning of a round, where you're kind of getting yourself set up, figuring out what kind of things you're going to start going towards. In the middle of the game, there's too much to be thinking about. You could, however, get people trying to kind of game the system. Anytime there's limited communication, depending on the game group, they may try to get cute and do little things to indicate what they do and don't have. I don't think that's a game problem. I think that's more of a group issue. So overall, I feel like Hey Yo is in the top tier of Oink games. I've been a fan of a number of Oink games, but I do feel like they can be hit or miss. Some of their games I think are clearly better than others. Hey Yo to me is in that top tier of the games that I've played. I have not played all of them. I've played a number of them. But this is a game that I very much enjoy. I love the theme. I love the silliness of it. I love how quickly it plays. It's just a nice, silly party game that scratches a very unique itch that I don't have a lot of in my game collection. I don't have a lot of games like this, so I'm happy to add this one to it. I'm going to be giving Hey Yo a 7.5 out of 10 and a seal of approval. If this game sounds like it could be appealing to you, you should definitely check it out, because I think it's something unique out there in the party/rhythm game spectrum. All right, well, that's it for me. Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.